So here's what it looked like on paper. My brother got promoted. And to celebrate, my parents took him to Paris. First class. Eiffel Tower. Luxury hotels. Designer shops. The whole Instagram dream. Me? I got a letter. Not a card. Not a wish you were here. Hey, freaking letter. Let's rewind a bit. My name's Daniel. I'm 27. I work in IT. I troubleshoot systems, sip terrible coffee, and occasionally get called a wizard when I fix a printer jam. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. I've always paid my own way, rent, bills, food, you name it. Never asked my parents for a dime. Meanwhile, George, my older brother, is a finance golden boy. You know the type? Tailored suits, charming smile, LinkedIn humble brags. The kind of guy who says, I don't even need this job, and still gets a promotion. Our parents? They orbit around him like he's the gravitational center of their universe. Growing up, I didn't expect equal treatment, but I expected something. Recognition, encouragement, maybe even a, hey, we're proud of you too. But that was rare. Still, I tried not to let it get to me. I had friends, hobbies, purpose. I told myself I didn't care. Until the Paris thing happened. At first, I didn't even know they were planning it. I found out during dinner when George casually dropped, so I just booked the penthouse in Paris. You guys ready for French wine and jet lag? I looked up, thinking he was kidding. He wasn't. They had the flights, the hotel, the itinerary. I wasn't invited. No room in the hotel, my mom said, as if Paris only had 4 chairs. It's kind of George's celebration, my dad added. Hope you understand. I smiled, said nothing, took a sip of water to keep from choking on my own self-worth. Then, a few days before they left, a package arrived for me. Plain envelope. My dad's handwriting. No note, no explanation. Inside? A letter. Daniel. We've been thinking. You're getting older, and it's time you stand on your own. We can't keep supporting you forever. This is part of your journey. Time to grow up. Love. Dad. I sat on the edge of my bed, rereading it like maybe I'd missed a punchline. Like maybe on the back, there'd be a smiley face and a just kidding. There wasn't. It was signed like it was some corporate memo. Like I'd just been laid off from the family. I hadn't even asked them for help. Ever. So I packed. No yelling. No guilt trip monologue. Just quiet fury. I stuffed what I needed into 2 duffels, left my house key on the counter, and drove to a friend's place. I didn't look back. And the wild thing? They didn't call. Not for weeks. I thought I'd feel broken, shattered. But I didn't. I felt lighter. Like I'd finally stopped carrying the weight of their silence. Until one night, voicemail. It was my mom. Daniel, we didn't mean it. Please. We didn't mean what we said. Call us. I didn't. Not yet. Because they had finally seen what life looked like without me in it. And maybe, just maybe, that silence was the loudest thing I'd ever said. Luke's couch was lumpy. The air mattress squeaked every time I turned over, and the ceiling fan made a noise like it was trying to send Morse code. But it was peaceful. More peaceful than the emotional minefield I'd grown up in. Luke, to his credit, never asked too many questions. Just handed me a spare key and said, Fridge is yours, don't touch my Oreos, and if you break my PS5, you sleep on the fire escape. A true friend. We were 2 weeks into my escape when the 3rd voicemail came in. My dad's voice, trembling in that awkward, trying not to sound like he's begging way. Daniel, we're sorry. We didn't mean for it to go this far. Please, just call us. I didn't. Instead, I applied to 5 new jobs. Updated my resume. Started freelancing in cybersecurity, contract gigs, remote work, actual respect. It wasn't just about money. It was about control. For the first time, I wasn't performing for anyone. I wasn't looking up from the bottom rung, hoping someone would toss me a compliment like a bone. It was weird, freeing, quiet, too quiet. Sometimes I'd stare at my phone, wondering if I should reply, just to unload, just to scream, do you even know what that letter did to me? But I didn't. Instead, I called my sister, Claire, the only other person in our family who didn't walk around like they were starring in a prestige HBO drama. Hey, I said. Got a second? You alive? She shot back. Because you fell off the face of the earth and I was one Google search away from hiring a PI. Yeah, I said. Alive, slightly emotionally scorched, but breathing. I told her everything. The letter. The trip. The voicemail parade. She listened without interrupting, which for Claire was basically sainthood. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. Wow, that's trash behavior. On their part. You okay? I shrugged, even though she couldn't see it. I don't know. Part of me feels strong. Like I finally cut the cord. But the other part? Still hoping for an apology that doesn't come with an asterisk. Look, she said. Mom and Dad have always treated George like he walks on water. We both know it. You just stop pretending it didn't hurt. That takes guts. I stayed quiet. And for the record, she added, you were always the one who handled your own messes. They just never saw it because George was loud and shiny. You're subtle. And they missed it. That's on them. That hit harder than I expected. I don't know if I even want to go back. I admitted. What if they're just trying to patch things up because they feel guilty? Not because they actually get it. Claire paused. Then you don't go back for them. You go back for you. When you're ready. If that ever comes. You owe them nothing. After we hung up, I sat on Luke's balcony with a cheap beer and a laptop glowing with new job offers. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Capable. Still hurt. Still bruised. But not broken. The funny thing about silence? Sometimes it's not punishment. Sometimes it's space to breathe. And I was finally breathing again. The days started to blend. Long hours working, low-key dinners with Luke, the occasional late-night coding rabbit hole that ended with caffeine shakes and Spotify playlists called Vengeance Vibes Volume 3. I was getting used to being not needed. It was strange, in the best way. I landed a new gig. Nothing earth-shattering, freelance network security overhaul for a mid-sized firm. But they paid well and, more importantly, treated me like a professional, not a favor bank. Luke noticed the change too. You're standing straighter, man, he said over burritos one night. You got that whole main character energy now. I think that's just from not getting emotional sucker punched every 2 days. He raised a toast with his soda to emotional boundaries and overpriced takeout. Meanwhile, the voicemails from my parents kept coming, but they were off. Less about me, more about them. Daniel, you're being unfair. We were just trying to help you grow. Your mother can't sleep. She's so worried. Can you at least text us? No accountability. No actual apology. Just Guild in a trench coat, trying to sneak back in. Claire texted me one night. Mom's panicking. Dad's pretending everything's fine. Just FYI, George is still bragging about Paris. That last part made me snort. Of course he was. One night, I opened one of the old voicemails and really listened. It wasn't my mom crying because she missed me. It was her crying because her dynamic, the one where I quietly suffered so George could shine, was breaking. They weren't mourning me. They were mourning the version of me who didn't speak up. And suddenly, that longing I'd been dragging around like a second skin started to dissolve. Not all at once, but in flakes. I went out with Claire for coffee, the first real sibling hangout we'd had in years. She asked how I was holding up. I shrugged. Better. Still hurts. But better. Good, she said. Because you need to be ready. For what? She looked at me over her latte. You know they're not done. They'll try again. Not because they've changed, but because they want you back where you were silent and useful. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I know. So what are you going to do when they ask to talk? I thought about that. What was I going to do? It started with a forwarded email. Claire sent it. Subject line, you're gonna love this. It was from my dad. A group message, her, me, and George. A digital olive branch, typed in courier font like he still hadn't figured out how to update his email signature from 2006. We've been thinking it's time to sit down as a family and talk this out. Let's stop this unnecessary distance. Let's have dinner. Sunday night. Our place. Just a conversation. That's all. I stared at it for a solid 2 minutes. Just long enough to go numb, then irritated. Claire texted seconds later. Translation, they want to act like nothing happened. Figures, I replied. Dinner is the new. We didn't do anything wrong. And yet, I didn't delete the message. That's the messed up part. Because there's always a tiny, traitorous voice in your head whispering, maybe this time will be different. Luke came home that night to find me half-dressed in the kitchen, holding a mug of tea and staring into space like I was solving time travel. Dude, you look like you're about to confront a war criminal. I might, I muttered. He raised an eyebrow. Is this about that dinner thing? Yeah. You going? I don't know. Are you going to let them pretend nothing happened? Nope. He nodded. Then go. But don't go to get anything. Go to say something. That stuck. Sunday came faster than I expected. I showed up late. Intentionally. Long enough for the tension to simmer. Long enough for my entrance to feel like a statement. Claire answered the door. She smirked. Nice timing. They were starting to sweat. Inside, the house looked exactly the same. Too clean. Too curated. Like no one actually lived in it, just performed inside it. George was already at the table, sipping wine like he hadn't accidentally kicked off a familial implosion. My mom hovered in the kitchen with the kind of anxious energy only deeply repressed people can generate. My dad looked up from his phone and smiled like nothing had happened. "Daniel," he said. "Good to see you." I nodded. "You too." No hugs. No apologies. Just salad. Dinner was quiet at first. Small talk. George's new office. My mom's book club. I played along, not out of politeness, but because I wanted them comfortable. I wanted them to drop their guard. Halfway through the main course, my dad finally said it. "So, things got a little tense recently." Claire coughed. "A little." I repeated, setting my fork down. "I think what your father means," my mom jumped in, "is that we may have overreacted. We were just trying to nudge you in the right direction." There it was. The soft deflection. Like the letter was just a quirky parenting move, not a cold rejection. "Right?" I said. Because sending me a letter telling me to grow up while flying George to Paris wasn't at all dismissive. George shifted in his seat. "It wasn't personal, man." "You're right," I said, voice calm. "It never is. That's the problem." My dad sighed. "Daniel, we didn't mean to hurt you." "But you did," I said. "And not just now. For years. I was never George. I didn't need to be. I just wanted to be seen." The room went still. Claire watched like a proud stage mom, silently sipping her wine. My mom's voice cracked. "We didn't know you felt that way. That's because you never asked." I stood up slowly, plate untouched. "I'm not here to beg for a place at this table. I'm here to say this. I'm done auditioning. If you want a relationship, it has to start from scratch. No golden child favoritism. No subtle digs. Just truth. Or nothing." I looked at all three of them. My parents, frozen, and George, expression unreadable for once. "Your move." And then I walked out. Claire followed seconds later, catching up to me on the porch. "You good?" she asked. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Yeah." For the first time in a long time, yeah. The days after that dinner were weirdly still. No explosive follow-up. No emotionally loaded texts. Just silence. And this time, it felt like a choice, mine, not theirs. I went back to work, head clearer than it had been in years. I started accepting bigger freelance contracts, stopped hesitating when clients pushed timelines or tried to lowball me. I wasn't just working. I was owning my space. Finally, one of my clients, a medium-sized cybersecurity firm, offered me a permanent position. Remote, flexible, well-paid. I said yes without overthinking it. No approval needed. No, good job, son, to wait for. Claire and I met up a week later. She brought brownies and sarcasm. "Standard. You looked like a TED Talk at that dinner," she said between bites. "But, like, one of the good ones. With actual feelings and no pyramid schemes." I laughed. "Thanks." I blacked out around the part where Mom said they overreacted. Did I sound okay? "You sounded done. Like, really done. It was amazing." She paused, set the brownie down, and looked at me seriously. "You know you don't have to forgive them, right? Not unless they really earn it." "I know," I said, but weirdly. "I'm not angry anymore. Just tired." "Tired is progress," she said. "It means you stopped waiting." We sat on the couch, half watching a movie, when my phone buzzed. A text. "Dad, we're giving you space. If you ever want to talk, we're here." That was it. No apology. No accountability. Just a slightly less dramatic version of "We've said enough. Your turn." I stared at it for a minute, then locked my phone and slid it under a pillow. "I don't think I'll answer," I said aloud. Claire didn't even look away from the TV. Good. That weekend, Luke and I moved into a new apartment, a better one, with a real office for me and a kitchen that didn't hum like it was haunted. We celebrated with bad beer and instant ramen. It was perfect. Somewhere around midnight, I stood on the balcony, looking out at the skyline. Not thinking. Just standing. Being. It hit me then. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't closure. This was what it felt like to not need either. I had people in my life who saw me. Friends who showed up. A sister who didn't let me gaslight myself into shrinking. A future that didn't require permission to begin. And my parents? They could sit with their silence. Because I finally knew. I wasn't missing from their table. They were missing from mine. It's wild how fast peace starts to feel normal. 2 months ago, I was pacing Luke's apartment, rerunning old arguments in my head like a broken podcast. No? I was meal prepping, planning trips, responding to emails with per my last message, energy living. My new job? Solid. They respected my time, paid on time, and didn't care about where I came from, just what I delivered. I had coworkers who actually thanked me in meetings. Unheard of. One even messaged me randomly. Hey, just wanted to say you're killing it on the security back end. Glad we've got you. I read it twice, just to let it land. Claire and I had made coffee hangouts a routine thing. No family drama, no rehashing. Just shared memes, sarcasm, and her ongoing obsession with trying to teach me how to make a passable quiche. You're healing, she said one day as we sat in the park. I gave her a look. Don't get all therapy speak on me now. No, really, she said. You're less tense. Less, waiting for the punchline. I laughed. I think that's because I finally stopped giving them center stage. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, just watching people walk their dogs and couples fight gently over picnic blanket placement. You know, I said, I don't even think I need them to change anymore. Claire nodded. That's when you really start winning. That night, I lit a candle in my new apartment, one of those overpriced ones that smells like forest ambition or whatever, and wrote something in a note on my phone. Not a speech, not a draft message, just a sentence. You don't have to prove your worth to people who only see you when you disappear. I didn't write it for them. I wrote it for me, so I could remember. Because the truth is, I still had moments. Glitches. Random pangs when I saw someone post about family brunch or a proud parent tweet. I'd feel it in my chest, that old ache that asked, why not me? But now, I knew the answer. It was never about me. It was about them. Their blindness. Their choices. Their idea of love wrapped in performance and comparison. And I had finally opted out. I was my own person now, flawed, healing, but unburdened. No spotlight. No approval meter. Just me. And that was more than enough. It started with a calendar invite. Not from work. Not from Claire. From George. Subject line. Dinner. No details. Just a time and a date. And a line in the body that said, not mom. Not dad. Just me. I owe you a conversation. I stared at it like it might self-destruct. Luke found me 10 minutes later, still holding my phone like it had betrayed me. You look like someone just told you your ex is dating your therapist. Worse, I muttered. George wants to meet. Luke's face scrunched. Golden boy George? The very one. You going? I don't know. He tossed a granola bar at me. Bring a witness. Or a taser. Whichever makes you feel more emotionally prepared. Claire called 5 minutes later. You got the invite? She said. No preamble. Yup. You going? I hesitated. What do you think? I think he's probably not doing this out of guilt. But maybe he's doing it out of realness. You'll know in the first 5 minutes. I sighed. What if I'm not ready? Then don't go. But what if I am? She paused. Then don't go looking for an apology. Just listen. And protect your peace. You've earned it. So I went. The restaurant was neutral territory, quiet, cozy, and the kind of place where you pretend to read the menu even though everyone just orders the burger anyway. George was already there. Alone. No designer suit. Just jeans, a hoodie, and a look that almost resembled humility. Almost. He stood when I walked in. Didn't try to hug me. Just nodded. Thanks for coming, he said. I sat down. What's this about? He didn't sugarcoat it. I messed up, he said. I didn't get it before. I honestly didn't see it. How mom and dad treated you. How much they leaned into the whole perfect son thing. I thought it was just normal. Because it worked for you, I said flatly. He winced. Yeah. And I coasted on that. I didn't even realize how much you were swallowing just to stay in the room. The waiter came by. We ordered drinks. I didn't say anything for a while. Then George said something I didn't expect. They're freaking out now. About you. About Claire siding with you. About losing control of the narrative. And I'm not here to fix that. I'm just tired of pretending it was ever okay. It was quiet for a moment. Just the sound of forks scraping and conversations humming around us. You're not asking for forgiveness, I said. No, he said. Because I'm not sure I deserve it. I just didn't want the first time I told the truth to be at your funeral. Dark, but honest. I'm not dead, I said. He smiled. I noticed. We talked for another hour. Nothing life-changing. No emotional fireworks. Just awkward truths and a slow unraveling of roles we've been assigned since birth. Before we left, he said one more thing. Whether or not we talk again, Thank you for forcing a mirror in front of all of us. I nodded and walked out into the night, phone buzzing with a message from Claire. Well, was it a trap? I texted back. Nope. Just a slow, weird kind of honesty. Growth. EW. I smiled. Yeah, EW. But maybe also, finally. 2 weeks passed. George didn't follow up. No texts. No social media love bombs. No, hey bro, guilt bait. Just silence. And weirdly, that was the most respectful thing he could have done. I didn't feel triumphant. I wasn't waiting for them to beg. I had no grand speech lined up about growth or healing. I was just living. Claire and I started planning a sibling road trip. Somewhere random. Somewhere with bad motels, good food, and maybe a national park or two just to say we did something wholesome. I'm putting you in charge of snacks, she said. But if you bring trail mix with raisins, I'm leaving you at a rest stop. I'll only bring raisins, I replied. You'll learn gratitude or starve. Work was steady. My space finally felt like mine. Some nights I cooked. Other nights, I ordered sushi and watched documentaries about things I didn't fully understand but liked the narration anyway. One night, I opened that letter again. The one from my dad, the one that started it all. You're getting older, and it's time you stand on your own. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I had. Not on his timeline, not in the way he meant, but in my own way, stubborn, quiet, and unstoppable. I folded the letter in half and slid it into a drawer, not to keep it close, but to remind myself where I came from. That version of me? He made it through, and he deserves a place in the story, not as a victim, as the guy who finally chose himself. I didn't know what the future held, whether I'd ever talk to my parents again, whether they'd really change, whether the next holiday season would be a group text minefield or an awkward brunch with paper-thin smiles. But I knew this. I wasn't standing in anyone's shadow anymore. I wasn't waiting to be chosen. I'd already chosen myself. And maybe that's the real legacy I'll build, not by being loud or celebrated or even understood, but by being enough.